Hi Gemini, Taurus, Moon sign people. Welcome to your April 5th Pisces new moon reading. This is Pisces for your Vedic moon sign. You want to check the links below and make sure that you are not also Gemini in your Vedic moon sign. We're moving more into just looking at the Vedic moon signs because in my work with Mama Drama Trauma, I'm noticing, and basically I've been noticing, but confirmation that the healing is really happening working with the Vedic signs. And for you, this energy for this new moon is 11th house energy. And so this has a lot to do with your hopes. It has to do with your dreams for your life, your associations that make those dreams come true, that you've built over a period of time. And this is really working with the fact that Mars is in your first lunar house. All of these readings are based on your first lunar house, and that is Taurus, Gemini in the Western. Now, again, not so much about the Western, but we're looking at moon yogas with Vedic lunar astrology. Healing Mama Drama Trauma, condition in which the mother projects unhealed aspects of herself onto her child, causing emotional and or physical trauma, is healed through connecting to the mother of all mothers. The mother of all mothers is that still small voice within. Our intuition, our highest selves. It is the voice of our soul. Now, in Vedic astrology, the sun is the soul. So the sun sign is that soul personality. The moon is how it feels. It is the repository of its memories over many lifetimes. The soul knows its karma. It also transmits and communicates back and forth through that physical life of the ascendant, that ego life, the emotions. And so the moon is a satellite transmitter, essentially the first satellite before the human mind created satellites, the moon. And so Great Mother, the mother of all mothers, is the true transmitter of our emotional and our intuitional experience in this physical body. We associate that with our physical mother until we connect with Great Mother, which is why we do that in healing Mama Drama Trauma. You cannot heal from it if you are still connected to the guilt, blame, and shame that perpetuates it. So working with the Great Mother Speaks Oracle deck and with my inner work coaching at greatmotherspeaks.info, we learn how to grieve the mother that we want in order to accept the one that we have. New moon readings have to do with being able to clearly see what you have learned over the previous lunar cycle in terms of the lessons of MDT. MDT is a soul contract between two souls, and so the lessons always occur. It's a lifetime of healing, but they're always occurring in two areas: our area of evolving in self-love and of evolving in spiritual independence. That, again, personal connection to our inner soul selves, the truth of who we are, as opposed to projecting that reality of who we are, what we feel, onto others, first and foremost, our wounded mother. Okay? So those wounded mother issues are only healed when we become conscious of this process and we begin to work with it. Body, mind, and soul. It is the actual place of inner peace. It is the place of inner balance. But we're always kind of moving away from that and working with that in the three-dimensional realm. Okay, we have the body, the Ayurvedic medicine, the spiritual fitness of the actual physical yoga, and we have our astrology that we work with, and all of them feed off of each other through our cosmic calculus. Again, that snapshot of our birth chart when we're born tells us exactly what we're made of and how the soul is composed within us, as us, and operates through us. Our moon sign has yogas. It has the 12th house, which tells us how we receive our intuitive information. It has the first house, and so your first lunar house is Gemini. That is how you experience the emotion. And your second house, which for you, of course, is Cancer, ruled by the moon, great mother energy we have there, which is how you process emotions. So we're going to go more into the Vedic. I've noticed that in my coaching work over the years that Vedic is very effective in healing mama drama trauma, which is why a Great Mother Speaks Oracle deck was created. But the going back and forth with the Western astrology, it's good for novices, but I'm getting more and more people who know about astrology, and they can handle going deeper into the Vedic, which is the most useful for healing soul contractual issues. MDT, again, is a soul contract. So we have with someone that dearly loves us and that we dearly love lifetime after lifetime, enough so that we basically coerce one another to develop in self-love and spiritual independence, okay? And so new moon energy is always sharing with us what Great Mother is suggesting as that transmitting device, as that radar device between the ego and the soul. What we should have gained or garnered from the previous lunar cycle, summarizing that as an essential seed of planting our new evolutionary growth for the new lunar cycle. And for you, Gemini, Cancer, moon sign people, it's Ishtar energy. It's the prostitute. What have you learned about giving of yourself, your gifts, your talents, and your skills? This moon is in your 10th house, which is all about that. It's all about how you are using your gifts, your talents, and your skills to share with the world what your soul came here to be, do, and have. There is life beyond MDT. And those of you who are coaches, or those of you who love those of us who have MDT, that's part of your gifting. That's part of your talent with this new moon in Pisces in your 10th house, is to share and to give with us in ways that are very truthful, not sparing us what it is that we need to know to evolve in self-love and spiritual independence. In other words, to release. Full moon energy is about cleansing, right? It's about purging, it's about release. Full moon second chakra energy is Jupiterian energy, and Jupiter is in your 7th house, and so that is about relationships. And so whether it's you that has MDT, or you're one that watches because you're interested in the subject for the work that you do, or the love that you have for us, this is a relationship issue. This is a simpatico issue that has to do with opposing energies that are very much so contractual in the way of supporting our evolution in self-love and spiritual independence, away from the low energy of the prostitute, which is giving away our gifts, talents, and abilities in ways that do not honor us. And we do that out of fear. We do that because we do not know our own value, and we do not know it because we have not been told. It has not been cultivated and conditioned in us that what we have is of value. And again, that energy of guilt, blame, and shame of MDT is operating on some level that Great Mother is saying that by the full moon, there will be an abundance of awareness with regard to this, specifically in your interpersonal relationships. Okay, maybe even your professional relationships. But since we're talking about lunar energy, it always has to do with that emotional, that intuitive space. So 7th house energy and intuitive space is soul contractual energy. So your soul contract with your spouse, for example, was MDT. Your soul contract, maybe even with your child, because it's Jupiter energy. We can talk about the child. We can talk about creative projects or the challenges with that you might be having. Those of you that your soul is coming up with the prostitute as the inner work that it wants to do, this is really having to do with that release going on in the South Node in your 7th house that is conjunct Jupiter this month. And so what are you releasing in terms of the toxicities involved in those interpersonal relationships and involved in that MD2 soul contract? We really want to up the ante with that as Jupiter goes retrograde around the 10th and the 11th. We really want to show ourselves the courage that we have to continue doing that MDT contractual soul work to evolve in that self-love. Because what's coming up and spiritual independence. Of course, with that Jupiter, that Dharma, that life purpose, that knowing what your own spiritual truth is all about is being brought up with Nefertiti. Knowing that value, knowing how important, how significant what your gifts and your talents are that you have to give to the world are. And that sense that your soul has, that maybe some of you may not be fully capturing, that is why this Pisces full moon is coming up in abundance in that nakshatra, Uttarabhadrapada. And it is really letting you know that, yes, you do have a strong enough foundation to share with those in your close circle exactly who and what you are about. Own that beauty. In this waning gibbous moon, it's something that you are really wanting to share that's coming up. Some of you are already sharing it and you have an attitude of thanksgiving about it. What you may not be aware of is that you are processing all of this as well. You are maybe not consciously processing it, but maybe some of your feelings that you've had with this moon right now being in your 10th house, what should I do now with my painting, or what should I do now with my child caring abilities? It's changed. My children have grown up, or I'm selling the daycare center, or I'm wanting to work more with people that have MDT, or I'm wanting to support my mother and healing hers. These urges have to do with you emotionally processing all of this. And so Gemini moon sign people, you process with a very Cancerian energy, okay? You process with a very maternal sense, a very grounded sense of home. Emotionally, if you are very family oriented, then this is really ringing true with you in terms of your family representing the energy of your soul contract with MDT, and it being more than just your mother, and maybe there being some issues as a result of MDT that need to be addressed in your marriage. These issues of guilt, blame, and shame being projected onto your partner, perhaps, or you coming to be aware of that, and so much so that you've been working on this internal awareness that it's time for you to own your beauty in the work that you've been doing around these issues, and to process that, process the fact that you are doing your work. So different people watching this will be in different places. What you really do want, regardless, is to be reborn. You do want a rebirth. You do want a regeneration. And although I don't see a lot happening right now in your 8th house, I see that Mars is in your 12th house. And Martian energy in your 12th house is saying that you are very avidly downloading very important intuitive information. And this is a balsamic moon card, and this is a balsamic moon card. Balsamic moon cards are download cards. You're downloading the intuitive information from Great Mother, from your soul, from the sun sign in the Vedic. And you might want to look at your sun sign video to kind of see the orientation of what you're downloading as it relates to these soul contracts within your family related to healing that blame, shame, and guilt. Some of you are actively, as a result of doing this work and working with me, are in this stage of divine self-expression, or doing this work with someone else that you've been actively working with, that you are really in a place where you are embracing your divinity. You are embracing the reality of being a divine child of the Great Mother, Father, God, who's dearly loved. You feel that, and you're really processing that in ways that you're doing spring cleaning. You're anticipating people coming to visit, maybe now that you've started to heal the relationship with your spouse and you started to change your approach with your children. You are more open to having more relationships with other people, and you don't really need people to validate you as much as you have in the past, because you're beginning to validate yourself. And I'm really happy to see that. Because what's supporting you is this sense of freedom, this sense of, I know who I am, I know what I'm about, I know what I believe, I know what works for me, and I know what doesn't work for me, and I'm working with those things that don't work for me. Because I'm not selling myself out anymore, or I'm becoming aware of those things that don't work for me, and I'm freeing myself from those things. And so you can identify kind of where you are in this continuum, this new moon, because the balsamic moon comes right before the new moon, and this is your third balsamic moon card. And all the balsamic moon cards, the Great Mother Speaks Oracle deck, represent a letter in the acronym ASPIRE. We aspire to live in loving detachment. A is acknowledge, S is self-inquiry, P is processing, I is integrity, R is rebirth, and E is emancipation. So you're going through this rebirth, we're going through this rejuvenation, and that's as a result of processing this tendency to either sell yourself out, or this awareness now that you're no longer doing that, and you're enjoying the fruits of your conscious labor of processing in order to have that freedom. This is supporting you to be free to enjoy this rebirthing process. Now, the present state of your ego soul alignment is Sheila Nagig. Sheila Nagig is that open energy, totally open to what the universe has for you as a result of your work, or being totally open to what the universe has for you as a result of being open to begin doing your inner work. We all have to get our broom back, and this is exactly the scene in The Wizard of Oz when the lion realizes that after being told by Oz you have to bring it back to get your courage, and he jumps out of the castle window. And isn't that how we feel when we realize, wow, you know, I realize that this has really impacted my life, and it's going to continue to do so in very negative ways unless I get a handle on this. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is so scary. How am I going to do this? When up to this point my mother has been everything. She's been God and goddess, and what she says goes, and if we could just work this part out, everything would be great, right? Well, it's not just that part. It's a family cycle. It's a dynamic that has very deep roots that go beyond our mothers, and that requires very deep soul work. And so Sheila Nagig is the Wane and Gibbous Moon card that tells us that we are able, with this heart chakra energy, to heal what we need to heal, to go forward. It's just a matter of being open. Why the soul wants to do this work for you, this new moon in Pisces, Gemini moon sign people, this 10th house energy, your gifts, your talents and abilities, and your associations with people. It also has to do with father energy. It has to do with your feelings of achievement in your life. You're achieving this sense of self-love and spiritual independence in ways that support you and your family. Gemini moon wants to be creative and how it is experiencing its emotions, and you are centering yourself in this kind of creativity. Again, the third eye is ruled by the moon, Great Mother energy, and this is why your soul wants to do this work. It wants to be recentered. It wants to be regrounded in a new space outside of MDT. It wants to be grounded in that divinity identity, that yoga, the clicking of the heels 3 times, 1, 2, 3, body, mind, and soul, in order for it to fully live beyond MDT. And although you may be in the thickness of that process, Great Mother is here with you, as Glenda was there for Dorothy, to get her all the way home by reminding her, as she reminds us, that it is within us all the time. How your soul wants to do this work, this new moon, is by accepting the guidance and the protection of the Jesus, the Christ consciousness. This is single yin heart chakra energy. Single yin energy is being receptive. That's all we have to do to receive the guidance and the guardianship of the Christ consciousness. And the Christ consciousness is the eternal grace and mercy that has been dispensed upon the planet since the Christ has been on the planet. The Christ consciousness has been on the planet. It took over the consciousness of condemnation of the Old Testament, right? And so many people are still living in that Aryan consciousness, and they haven't quite transitioned into Piscean consciousness, and that was 2,000 years ago, and here we are coming up on the Aquarian age. So that just goes to show that there are phases and there are stages for all souls, and there are different dimensions that exist simultaneously. And in this particular dimension of heart chakra energy, that is how your soul, that is how your soul downloads to you information. Okay, so your moon sign Taurus receives, your moon sign Gemini receives information in a Taurian way, and Taurus is ruled by the heart chakra. Okay, and so again, the 3 or the 12th house, which for you is Taurus, the first house is Gemini, how you experience, and the third house is how you process. We receive, intuit, download in a Taurian way, Gemini moon sign people. So receive the intuition that you are protected, that you are being guided, is how your soul wants to do this work of centering. They're receiving the guidance of Glenda, who symbolizes Great Mother, who's telling you that the prostitute energy that you're moving toward, that you're waxing toward, this new moon to the full moon, is all about owning your value, owning your greatness, knowing your beauty in your relationships with and to others as only you know them. And Gemini, you experience your emotions by talking about them, by communicating with people. And I'm looking for a mercurial symbol here, and I don't see one. I see, yes I do, I'm sorry. I'm seeing it in the position of how this is coming to you, how this feeling of protection and guidance is coming to you. It's through the throat chakra, which is ruled by Mercury. Okay, the beauty, owning your beauty. And so you are definitely feeling that, and you're definitely experiencing that on so many levels, this new moon, Gemini moon sign people. And as a result of that, your very likely outcome is Pachamama. You're going to be leaving behind so much blame, shame, and guilt. It's not even going to be funny this lunar cycle. Many of you already have. You're already in that freedom state. Those of you who are entering the freedom state of emancipation and just breathing through the reality that you are actually ready to be open to do your healing work, you're going to be leaving behind so much of that. That's Pachamama, the incarnation of Great Mother as the tree, the sea, the fairies, that grounding energy, that root chakra energy. And of course, Saturn is in the South Node, conjunct Jupiter for about 20 days this month. And so we're moving into this Jupiterian energy that will briefly be in your 7th house, conjunct the South Node. And so a lot in terms of your relationships, these soul contracts with your children, your family, the beauty that you have to communicate where you are in your healing journey. Very good, Gemini moon sign people. Thank you so much for watching, sharing, and liking. But above all and most of all, remember, Great Mother loves you, and I do too.
I am Great Mother, Holy Spirit, Yin, Divine Mother, Cosmic Womb, Deep Space, the Moon, Dark Matter, the Void, the Black Hole, Hathor, Isis, Diana, Mami Ishtar, Kali, Mammy, and Mother Mary.